Welcome to the K Heartfelt Experience podcast. This is a brave space where we explore everyday experiences through spirit-filled conversations and gain wisdom and knowledge to get us through life. We will laugh, cry, pray, challenge ourselves, and more than anything, grow in love. I'm your host, Keonda Hester, and I can't wait to share this experience with each of you.
Got it.
Yay! All right. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you to joining me for another show and exploring another experience with me. I'm so thankful. If you're new here, welcome. And please go to the kheartfelt.com website and listen to the other shows. We're also on Spotify, Apple, and I believe Google. I don't even have too many Apple products, but I do know that I registered there. So it's on Apple Podcasts. So definitely go and check it out. I'm excited to discuss this experience today with such a hardworking, cool with a K guest, and we'll get into that. But you already know what we do here. We have to pray. I have to throw it up to my Father, my Abba. I would not be in this position if it wasn't for him. So I'm always going to glorify him. But if that is not your zhuzh, if you are not of the faith circle or whatever, I pray that is okay. I want us to also coexist. So please do not click me off. Keep your ears and your heart open because you never know where your message may come from. All right. So let's just get into it. We're just going to go ahead and pray. All right, Heavenly Father, I want to thank you so much for this opportunity. I want to thank you for your presence and walking with me throughout this time. I want to thank you for seeking so vigorously after your daughters and your sons on this earth. Thank you for loving me the way you do. Every single day you keep showing me by giving me the provisions and the grace and the mercy. And I just want to give so much favor to you, Father God. I want to thank you so much. I ask that you protect all those who are listening, protect my guests. I ask for healing over them all and their families, Father God. I also want to pray that the Holy Spirit can have his way here. I'm surrendering to you. This is not mine. This is yours. By your grace, I'm able to do this. I'm just a vessel, Father. So wherever I lack in conversation, I ask that you fill in wherever you need to move, where everything I have planned. If you want it to be moved to the side, do as your will, Father God. I'm just here to serve you. I ask that people's eyes and ears and hearts are open to your word. I pray that their paths are lit up, and I pray that they can receive whatever message that you have for them today. I want to thank you again for bringing this guest here for me. And I pray that they are blessed and they believe that this is a safe space, that they are, welcome here and they can be open here. I just thank you, Father. And again, just ask for protection. In the mighty name of Jesus, we say amen.
Amen.
Amen. So you heard it. It's not a woman this time. It's a guy. All right. I'm introducing Kool Kidd Dre. I'm so happy that you are here. Dre is a rapper, a singer, songwriter, producer, and audio engineer from Mount Vernon, New York. His passion for music runs deep, and in my opinion, you can hear his love for all things music when diving into his albums. KKD, that's the name I'm giving him today because you're going to hear a name that he gives me, and I know he's not going to not do it. So. KKD has put out about 6 projects independently. The Cool Tape 1 and 2, Anomaly, Met Her 4, which is, if you look at the album, it's Met Her 4, which is, I just think it's so dope. Lou Alcindor Beat Tape, and 5G's Later that he recently put out. He has toured internationally and has done a multitude of festivals and concerts. Recently, he has found a way to share his knowledge of producing with others by creating a one-of-a-kind experience called Beats and Sips. It's a spin on paint and sips, just with beats, networking opportunities, and an infectious vibe. Dre, thank you so much for joining the show today.
I like that. I'm about to taste that. I like that. Yeah,
I will send it to you. I am so excited. Before, I have so many questions. Like, I was excited preparing for this interview, I'll tell you that. But before we jump in, I just want to ask, like, how are you doing? Anytime I have a guest, I want to check in to see how they're doing. And like, what is the last thing? So I'm asking you 2 questions. How are you doing? And what was the last thing that put a smile on your face and made you feel really good?
I'm in a really good space and not like hey, how you doing? I'm good.
Hmm.
Like no, I'm in a really good space. The last thing that put a smile on my face, I'm in North Carolina right now. This damn dog.
Okay.
In North Carolina right now. My little brother's birthday was on Saturday. So I came down
Yay.
here. Yeah, man, he's turning 22 and like he's like my everything. So
I,
like seeing him in front of his friends and like everyone being excited to see him, that made me like that'll always make me happy. So that keeps a smile on my face all the time. That's my
I
guy.
love it. I love it. And I actually did see on your Instagram that you were down there. I didn't know if you were going to be back or if you were down there still, but I got family in North Carolina. So shout out
Which
to
part?
North Carolina. My mother's family is from Durham. I know we have family in
Okay.
Oxford. Sorry, mostly in Oxford, but Durham and Henderson, I believe we have family, and Raleigh. You know,
Okay.
we got
Oh, it's,
family
oh, it's
all
somewhere in
over.
Raleigh and Durham and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So um I asked you, and I'm really thankful that you agreed to do the show. Like, I think within this season, since I'm just starting, there are things that I'm laying out foundationally that I'm not. Usually my shows are downloaded to me by God. So, first we started out with faith over fear, and I talked about me stepping out in faith. And it was really me trusting what God has put in me, right? So that way, and as I did that, I was able to finally let go of fear. I had to learn to love myself, right? Which was like the second episode. We talked about being able to properly love others. I'm a giver. I'm naturally a giver to other people, but I was doing it all wrong. I was depleting myself and not doing it the right way, which, love thy neighbor as you love thyself. I was loving that neighbor, but
Yeah.
I
You
was
was
all
coming
over the
second.
place over here. So my journey of loving God allowed me to, it was mirrored in me loving myself. That way I was able to now give because I never feel like I'm depleted anymore because it's a nice yin and yang. Then we talked about authenticity, staying true to who you are. Um, the last episode is out. Technically, this is like the fifth one, right?
Okay.
So,
Okay. 'Cause I was
is
trying to figure out. I'm like, do you record some of these and then post them up later? But you
yes,
got your
yes.
privacy.
So um you guys would have already heard the episode. I don't know if you remember Tashini, my best
Yes.
friend. Yeah.
Yes.
So that episode was based on, me and her were just like, just talking and catching up because she moved, but we were just talking about the importance of having a faith circle, someone that's just there for you, that will pray for you, that will just have your back, because you can't do it alone as much as we want to believe that we can, right? So if you need a team, and if it's not a huge team, at least it's just one, you know what I mean? And now I think it's important that another foundation that needs to be laid is to talk about consistency. And when I think of consistency, I think of Dre, right? Consistency is proof, in my opinion, of your faith and belief in yourself and in God. For me, that's my opinion. And I mean, trusting like your gifts is connected to trusting what God has created in you. So, um, I discussed that you have about 6 projects, right? And I know it started out in like 2015 with Cool Tape 1, and then you just kept, you kept going. And I know you even went to school at one point, right? For this, like this is something that you've been dedicated to. You've been dedicated to your craft, and I don't even think within my introduction I covered how much you have been grinding with and perfecting your craft. But take us to like where it began. Like, when did you fall in love with music? Go back to that moment, that experience, right? Give us all of it, the experience where it really began and you was like, this is what I want to do.
I remember it very clear. I was in my summer camp the year before I went to first grade.
Mm.
And yeah, it was as that long ago. It was a summer camp, and my friend was like my bro Justin. That's still my man to this day. His brother was actually like singing, like how like they'll do like choir service stuff like that, like the summer camp
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. So he was like the main singer. I remember looking at him, I was like, "Yo, you look like a wing standing here in front of everybody singing." And then like I just remember all the attention he got, and I was like, "Oh, this is hard. Like this is hard." So like from there, I was inspired to like start singing. So like I was in it really early, and then I started rapping. I would say around like third, fourth grade, because my uncle was a rapper and my stepdad was a rapper. So I'm like, so my earliest raps were just taking their raps and like cleaning them up and like changing the words around. And so like I've really been in it. And then I would say maybe around like fifth grade, I started writing my own stuff and like started getting into it. And then by the time I got to like 11, I got introduced to producing by my uncle too. So I
Mm,
was like in it really early on. And but I knew from the jump that this was my thing because it was the one place I felt confident in, like going back to like, finding that love for yourself. Growing up is a hard process, just the way the world works out, like
yeah.
you trying to find things to love about yourself while the world is trying to tear you apart. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So when you find a thing that's like, oh, I'm comfortable here, nobody can tell me about it, you attach yourself to it. So like my entire life has been built around this idea that I can create. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a special talent that I found in myself. And once I found it, I was never letting anybody take anything from it. Like I was going to perfect it. I knew this was my calling. I knew whatever I was going to be in life would be centered around this journey of me perfecting this skill. And it was way more important that I followed that path of where it took me as opposed to like, I want to be the greatest ever and all of a sudden. I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? If that's my path, that's great. But it was way more important that I have a reason to wake up in the morning. I have a reason to,
Oh,
what I'm saying? I have a purpose in life. So without that music, without, you know, being able to find myself within it, it would have been pointless. So it's I was lucky enough to find a passion really on early on in life and be able to just navigate life through that.
I love that. And actually knowing you, for those who are listening, me and Dre used to work together.
I didn't know if you was
Uh,
gonna tell him that. I didn't know if you was gonna tell him.
yeah,
All
we
right,
used
cool,
to
cool,
work
cool.
together. We transparent over here. We used to work
All right,
together. I'm
cool,
not
cool,
gonna tell
cool.
them where because I don't feel like they need promo
Okay,
because this is a
right,
nationally syndicated show
right.
here.
You feel
So
me?
I
They
don't
don't need
feel
the
like
promo.
they don't need
You feel
promo.
me?
But yeah, we used to work together, and I swear when I thought of consistency, I was like, it's Dre. Nobody could tell you nothing about what you was doing. Like there was a fire and a hunger. You was like, no, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna be this. And for the whole time that I've known you, you've been doing it and perfecting it and growing. For sure. The the next question is a little, maybe a little heavy, maybe not, or whatever. But again, this is a brave space, you know. So listening to your music, right? And knowing you a bit, I know that you've been through a lot, right? I know, like you mentioned, you're in North Carolina, so I know that you've traveled back and forth from like New York and there. I don't know if you've been in other places, but I know there. I also know that you lost your mother at a young age. I know that you were without your father for a while. I know that you grew up with your grandmother. She's been raising you. And there seems to be, and you mentioned this very early on, like the way you love your brother. So I feel like there was this pressure. I don't know if you grabbed it or if it was just like society kind of just placed it, which, with young men, there's a lot of things just placed on you guys. But there was this pressure that you have to be something or hold it down because you have someone looking up to you. Like it's just you and him and you gotta get it right. Um, and again, this is really coming through from your music. And I feel like men are not given the agency to deal with their emotions as transparently as women do, or not at all, right? And there's a burden, like I mentioned, on men to be strong all the time. And I think I mentioned this in my second episode that unfortunately, women do play a role in that because when men have this chance to be vulnerable and they do it, even if it's at a young age, it's either stripped from them saying that you're a punk and you need to stop, or yo, like what you doing, why are you so emotional, this that, and the third, which makes men retreat. And I think that if women and men do it too, and but also I think men do it to an extent, like fathers do it to their children, or other male figures do it because that's what they know, right? But I think if women stopped doing that, I think, in my opinion, the relationship between men and women will get better, and it will give you guys agency a little bit. But that's a little bit beyond. But
Yeah.
in your song "Don't Fear Anomaly," on like your third project, you talked a lot about like people wouldn't know what you were going through unless they listened to your music. And I had to reflect because you are always smiling, you are always chipper, happy, you really don't let nobody see you, I feel like, down in a way. um and I wanted to just ask, like, I feel like music is an outlet, right? And I know people can heal from music, but there's other layers and work that needs to be done. So how are you healing through all that you are going through, all that you have been through? How are you healing?
I just started healing, to be
Mm,
completely honest. I just started that. Like you said, growing up, it was me, my mom, my step pops, my little brother, my grandmother was there, and I think my mom. This is women in general, like, and I kind of want to speak on that space of where, like, when women, especially when they have a son, they understand how cruel the world is. You know what I'm saying? So when women are, as much as I do think there's that feeling of, oh, step up, be a man kind of thing, it comes from a place of love because they understand. I see how men get treated. If I don't raise this man to be strong, he'll break apart.
Yeah.
You know, so I think my mom was just really big on me not letting the world take me apart. You know, and then once I had my little brother, it wasn't like an innate thing. It was like military style. This is your child now. So
Mm,
wherever you go, he goes. You don't do nothing without him. This is your biggest priority in life. And like she was big on it to the point where it was like it stopped being the responsibility and more being something I was proud of. Like I
mm,
started, I liked bringing him around. I liked, watching his personality flourish and everyone being like, oh, this your little brother. I'm like, yeah, it's my man. He with me all the time. And I'm like, even now in our relationship, he'll bring up stuff that I forgot all about. I was like, yeah, I remember when you played basketball, you brought me and everyone thought I was cool. And like, those were really big moments for me. So for my mom to understand that well before I was even old enough to get it, to know that my relationship with him was going to be a big part of my life. When she left, I just got into that mode where it was like, all right, this was like her last dying wish to make sure if she told me nothing else, it was to make sure that I'm okay and he's okay. So once she did pass, I never really gave myself a moment to like sit there and kind of really deal with it because I always felt like if I did, I'd break. Like
yeah.
there's no way I'll be able to go through life really accepting the fact that was going on. So like I dove deeper into my music and I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna just record something every night. And this is before I even had a studio or anything. I was like recording on like this little raggedy microphone I had in my laptop. And I was like, I'm just
Mm-hmm.
do this and take my brother to practice. I'm just like, just keep going. And then before I knew it, I was like 25 and realized I never went to go visit my mother's gravesite.
Mm,
Like yeah, like years had went by and I never went to go visit. So that was my gift to myself that year. I was like, that my 25th birthday, I was like, I'm going to visit her at this gravesite. Like this stuff needs to stop. And that was where the healing kind of began. That's where it was like, okay, I'm realizing that there's a lot of language that I don't even have the words to express how I feel in this moment. Like, and it's like that's real suppression, And
yeah.
I always knew I kind of like suppressed things and compartmentalized. Like I just knew that about me, but to the extent that I was doing it, I didn't realize I got so good at it that I didn't even know what was going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, once I, went to go visit her for the first time and I started making it more of a habit, it was like I'm not gonna like even after I did it that first time, I was like, I'm not gonna come back till 30. And it was like, why am I keep running from this? Like when I'm like, bro, just relax, let it out.
Mm,
So I've gone a lot more obviously since then and been able to speak on what I feel and women around me in my life have been open to letting me express that. And I didn't know
amen.
I needed that. Yeah, I didn't know I needed that. Like being able to express that with other dudes is kind of like, all right, cool. We kind of get that because we're like fake expressing. We're like, we'll halfway say it, and I know he gets it, so I don't have to say
You
it.
don't got to fully
I'm
go
like,
into it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, he just know. But like when you're around, women who really are looking to see you heal and like you kind of open up, I felt more comfortable opening up when it was like, all right, cool. I have to actually say it because you're not a dude. You don't get. There's a part of this you don't get, so I have to
Yeah.
fully explain it. And I've just been fortunate enough between family members, girls I've dated, friends. I've been really fortunate to have really strong women around me to make me feel comfortable to where I can, I know my process is done, and that's the biggest thing I learned throughout this whole entire thing. It's never over. Like there's never a day where I wake up and go, okay, cool, I got it. It's like
Yeah.
it's a consistent thing, and as I change, my habits need to change, and once again with all the misfortune that kind of took place, I've been really fortunate with people in my life. Like that's one thing I can always say. I've been fortunate with the people.
Amen. I love when I said this in the last episode. I really love when things just connect um so gracefully when you think about when I think about my healing process, right? Like there was a level of me I talked about running so much from my way of helping other people is I didn't have to deal deeply into the trauma that I went through. I kind of brushed off like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Like everybody goes
Yeah.
through that, but I still went through it and I still had to deal with it. I can surfacely talk about it, but I never healed. I never really sat with who, what, when, where, why, how you feeling, because I'm just out here helping everybody else. I'm a social worker, so I dived into everything with everyone else. And I love that you're kind of echoing that sentiment of you need to stand still and kind of sit in it a bit to be able to really grasp like what it made you feel and embrace those emotions and understand what those triggers are and heal through that. And it's a process. It's a process. You can't expect it to just go away, especially within grief. Grief comes and goes. It hits you. It doesn't like, oh, it gets better and it's gonna go. It doesn't go away. It's there. You just start to learn. Your strength is renewed in different ways, and you learn to process it the way you best know how to process it. And that's okay. Nobody can tell you how to do it. Nobody can't, say you should be this way by now. No one has a blueprint on that because it's different for everybody. So thank you for sharing
you put that
that.
pressure on yourself. You put that pressure on
Yeah,
yourself.
we
You feel
really
like, yo,
do.
I'm like, yo, I should have been, I'm supposed to be off this. Like,
That's
yeah,
what I've learned so much now, like, especially within my faith walk, is this constant understanding, like, we as humans just make stuff so much more simple. I mean, so much more harder. And God is up there like, yeah, so can y'all just come? Like, just sit down. Like, cause y'all just do too much.
We even let it happen. Just
Yeah.
relax.
So this kind of goes into like the next thing. Like as I mentioned, I remember when you were young, and it's all like, it really makes sense how much you discuss your dreams, and like you were so determined to stick to your mission no matter what. Like, I don't care if somebody was like, I don't know, bro, maybe you should do this. She was like, oh, I hear you, but I'm gonna do this. Like, I'm gonna rap, I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna do it all. And I want to know, does your faith play a role in your consistency and motivation? Like, where do you find that motivation from? Because when I think of a grandmother, I think of a praying grandmother, and I don't want to assume, but I just think of a praying grandmother, right? So I want to, if you are comfortable to talk about your faith walk and how that plays a role in your consistency and your motivation.
I'd love to have this conversation with you on this because it actually happened recently. It's funny you bring it up. So like, I would say maybe like, so I'm 28 now. So this is probably like 2 years ago. And like, so whenever I had a free Sunday, I hit my grandmother up, be like, yo, let's go to church. I knew that was like the biggest thing. So I know that would just make her a whole entire year. And it usually kind of happens around some type of holiday or something like that, like Easter or something like that. So I always try to like, so like 2 years ago, I go with her to church. And I'm not gonna lie, I'll be falling asleep sometimes at church. I've fallen asleep. She's mad every year. I guess this particular day, I had a good night rest before, so everything was good. I walk in there, and we in church, and she just like keep checking to see if I'm up, and I'm up. And I guess I had just been more focused on everything that was going on in church, because luckily for me, this church that I go to with my grandmother, this is like my summer camp when I was a kid, and like what I'm saying, like this church, I see these people outside of church. This is my actual family. They were there for like basketball games, and like, so I have a relationship with them. My pastor, who has the same birthday as me, like I don't care if he wasn't. Yeah, that's my man. It's like I love him. So being in that space, old enough to really receive everything, I'm paying attention now. I'm listening. And I'm like, oh, I get it. Like, it was like, oh, I understand what this experience is, way more than just me coming to make my grandmother happy and just kind of seeing people I grew up with. This is like a place of like inspiration. This is a place of community. This is a place of like healing. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm now looking at people differently, because I'm like, oh, I understand why you're so engulfed in what's going on right now. Because this is a moment, and you're sharing it with other people who are in that experience too. So from that day, going there with my grandmother, like my church experience has been completely different after that. My relation with religion and higher powers, everything like that, just being open to what the energy is here for. You know what I'm saying? I was never, I was way more focused on me. I'm like, I'm doing something. And being able to, like we said again, take a minute, sit back, and kind of let what's supposed to be here and let it come through you, and as opposed to you making everything, is like, no, let it go through you. Let it go through you. You'll be all right. You the tools, you know what I'm saying? You have the tools. Trust yourself, and you know what I'm saying? Trust it. It'll be there. And it was crazy that it was like all from that moment, how like I just saw everything in life kind of differently around that. So, and I even appreciate how like in the beginning of your prayers, like even if you're somebody who's not into like religion or anything like that, I think most people would agree there's something bigger than us, and I think that it's dope that you're like, even if we don't see the same way, don't be closed-minded. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what tends to happen sometimes. Like maybe we don't have the same religious view of life, but I'm sure there are things we agree on in it somewhere that's like it's way base level stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I think that's dope that you really touch on that.
Thank you. And I think so many people have had a traumatizing experience with religion, whether, you know, parents tried to bring you in, but the church wasn't the leader wasn't good, or, you know, or it just wasn't consistent. And, you know, there's a lot of things with my first experience that I've been on this faith walk for so long. And it's just that I genuinely didn't understand stuff. And I went through so many stages, which my audience are going to hear down the line. Because I really want them to understand, like, there was so many stages that I went through to finally get back to the core. And the only way I was able to do that was doing the research on my own, which is reading the Bible on my own. I had so many questions, so many, I don't believe in everything from there. It was like, I mentioned this before, and like I said, we will get into it. There was a time I denounced Jesus and I had got completely depressed. And so many things happened, but my eyes have finally opened to how much like God really loves me. And I don't even have to do that much. And you put this gift in me and trusted me enough to execute these things. And I've been stalling and playing games. Like, that's so crazy. So like, I asked you this question because consistency for me only comes through my faith. I've tried to get up and do things on my own, and it really was not working. It just wasn't working. So now that, I love doggies. Now that I have an understanding of Christ.
Renee, these dogs are killing me here. They're killing me here. Which one is it? Which dog is screaming like that?
No, like, once I got with God and understood, I'm able to be consistent because it's bigger than me. You know what I mean? It's bigger than me, and I'm not doing it on my own. I thought I was before, and now I really understand, like, oh no, like, God is really walking with me along this journey. I don't know what's about to happen, but I know God's about to do something crazy in my life. So I'm hyped. I can tell you that. I do want to talk about the pros and the cons of consistency, if that makes sense. Like, I believe that there's this understanding of, like, I've been looking through my journals recently because I'm a journal head. Like, I write constantly. And I don't know if you remember how I used to carry around like a little journal.
You did all the time.
Right? And I used to write in it. It kept me sane. And I'm glad somebody can like contest to that. I really used to carry the journal around with me.
Journal was always with you all the time.
If I left it, I would freak out. Like, it was real. Like it was like a diary, but it was really just my journal. And I actually, sidebar, I started walking with that journal when I was reading a book. Do I have the book? It's by Rick Warren. What on earth am I here for? When I was searching for my purpose and trying to understand it, one thing that they mentioned was writing down. That was my way of talking to God all the time, believe it or not, is that anything I felt, if I felt angry at somebody at work, if I felt like I'm getting depressed because I don't want to be here at this job. And this was a time when all my friends around my age were leaving. So I'm older than a lot of my close friends that I'm in contact with daily. I'm older than them. So all the ones that are around my age were like moving to their career type jobs and like leaving the place that we all worked. And I was like, I'm not going to get upset, God. I know you're working in a certain way. And I started reading and I started writing every single like day. And I've been a journal head ever since. But I've been looking through my journals and I was looking at something I wrote called like the 4 P's, right? It's like prayer, practice, patience, and persistence. And persistence comes with, in my head, is like consistency as well, right? Constantly doing something, right? But that practice and that patience part, I think, is like, there are fruits that come from you being consistent, right? And I want you to talk about those to me in my head are like the pros. Those are great. But then there's that weariness or that comes from the practice sometimes, and the patience that you have to have. Like, people only want to talk about the glow up, but that middle part, which is what we're here for, that middle part can be a mess, and it can be a lot. Like, so if you can just talk about an experience that may be attached to both the fruits of it, the pros, and the cons part, if that makes sense. And ask me, let me know if you need clarification.
I think, so for example, music, right? So when I started music, I was a kid who was interested. So I never thought of it as, oh, I need to keep working at it to get great. I enjoyed
Mm,
doing it, so I kept doing it. And with it going on for so long, now I don't even think about how much energy I put into it. So I know what it looks like to stick on something and get better and better and better and look back and go, wow, I'm way better than it was. So being able to have that in my life always gives me a point of reference, knowing that if I stick on something, I'll get better at it.
amen.
The I guess the con of that is there's doing that same thing with something you may not love as much. You know
Mm,
what I'm saying? It's like being able to teach yourself those same habits and something that you may not have the same fervor for, because without it, you'll be one dimensional. So it's
mm,
like I have to tap into that consistently. So for example, with the beats and sip thing, I have to look at new ways to market, right? So get into marketing and stuff like that. That's not my forte. I don't know nothing about that. So I have
mm.
to keep consistently going back and learning more. And I have to like make sure I take time every day to like do something that gives me closer to what my goal is. So it's like I don't know what it looks like outside of music. And
Mm.
that's one of my things where it's like I have to, all right, cool. Well, if I was making beats 5 times a day, what's the equivalent of that in another space? There was a point in time when I was learning how to code, and that was like the longest 3 years of my life. Like that was like, but I stuck at it because I felt like I already started it and I just kept repeating back to music. So it was like, I know what it feels like to not be good at something from scratch. Like I forget what it feels like to not be good at music because my whole entire life I feel like I had some type
Yeah.
of, but coding, I don't know nothing. So I forgot what it felt like to start from scratch and be trash and get excited for the little wins and like keep staying on top of it even when you don't want to, like waking up early.
Yeah, those
And
are the
those are the moments where it's like you once you go back to what you're saying, it's your faith. It's like, yo, if I don't have my faith, I'm
yeah.
not waking up. It's just not happening. So I think everyone has their thing. I guess for me, I've always had that base of music, right? So I know I can always refer back to, bro, if you really want to do it, you can do it. Like
Yeah.
if you really want to do it, you can do it. And I can't play myself. And once again, it's just I was fortunate for that.
There's some key things that you mentioned. You mentioned first of all, we know with Dre, there's the purpose was given to him. This is something that he knows is a calling, right? But you mentioned that when it's consistent, when you know you have to do something consistently, if you don't have that fervor for it, that's when it gets like maybe a little daunting and it gets hard where you don't want to wake up, you don't want to, do certain things. But for him, understanding like, well, this is my base. So and there's an understanding of remembering the fruit. So he remembers like, I remember when I used to be this way and look how good I got. And those small wins, you mentioned the small wins, all those different nuggets are extremely important. So if there's anybody out there who is really trying to figure out like, what am I supposed to do? And you're doing something like, I don't want you to take these tools and these keys and say, well, I'm gonna have faith in this, but God didn't anoint that. Or because one thing he did mention is this has been a calling since the very beginning, he felt like he understood his purpose and his calling. Those are key things. So everything that he's doing is based around music. Like I mentioned in his intro, he didn't just say I'm just gonna sing. He's doing the singing, the rapping, the audio engineering, the producing, and more. You understand? So I don't want you to try to be consistent in some. I mean, consistency is good. Like consistency in skincare routine, you gonna see results, right? Like
Right,
you are.
right.
But
Yeah.
if there's that vigor and that understanding of what you're gonna get out of it, I think those are different ways you can kind of pay attention to, am I on the right track? If that makes
Right.
sense. Like, am I
100%.
doing things right for what makes sense? Because even for me, I said this, the most successful year I've ever had was in 2020 into like 2021 because my
Okay.
faith was God. Because I have built a strong, beautiful, intimate relationship that's still growing with God, and I have that foundation now. That's been the most successful thing I've ever done because now I'm able to do something that I've always wanted to do since God knows when. Like people who know me know that I've been wanting to do a radio show, whatever. It turned into a podcast. Like I've been wanting to do this for forever. I talk to people like this is who I am. So
I love
I'm
that.
only able to do that because now I have that foundation. Do I want to get up I get up very early in the morning
Yeah, yeah,
at
yeah. Tell him, tell him,
4:30
tell
in
him,
the morning every single
tell
day.
him.
God told me one time, I tried to do it just Monday through Friday because that's how I used to soap in the morning and get into the word. And with this new phase that I'm in, I remember Saturday, like, oh, I can get up later. And God was like, no, you can't. This is different now. So every single day, no matter what time I go to sleep, I'm up at 4:30 to get into this word and talk to God, because it's all connected to the consistency part of me doing, like, if that goes off track, I know the shows, I'm not going to be able to edit them, get them, and pray to get who I need to call. Like, this is ordained. Like, I didn't know where you was going to be at with your faith. I had no idea. No idea whatsoever. So this is all this is all connecting. It's beautiful. So yeah, I just think that when you get it and you know it and you feel it, there's gonna be those moments where you don't want to do it, but you have to remember what those fruits are. Hold on to what those fruits are. Like, I am joyful. I have joy when I am up and doing the things that I feel like God has called me to do. And with Dre, it doesn't even seem like it's natural now. You know what I mean? And I think it's only gonna get better. Yeah.
For people who like, I would also say for people who are trying to find their purpose, because like now that you found your thing, you notice when you get around people who are still looking for what their drive is, they're really hard on themselves, especially the older they get. They're really hard, and it's like, part of your process is figuring out what you like. So like, if you don't know what your thing is, try as much as you can. You will find your thing. But if you don't try stuff, you're just gonna think you're bad at everything. You don't think if you're not successful at two things, and those are the only two things you ever tried, like, oh, I'm gonna just stick with this. It's like, no, you don't know.
Yeah.
You might be one mistake away.
I was doing research for my kids for, I think, career day last year. And one of the issues they talked about is how they're always on to the next thing because they're overstimulated due to the internet. So, and like back in our day, we had the opportunity to actually physically try and do things, right, with our hands. It's a difference from just looking up online. It's like, oh, I want to do this now. No, because then the next thing pops up on your TikTok and you want to do that too. And then the next thing, and I remember telling a mother, I need you to get your child off. I need you to take away some of her phone time. And I had to I do not play when it comes to my kids. Like, I call them my children through purpose. Any parent who knows that I work with you knows that I'm never gonna lie to you. I'm gonna give it to you straight because I care and I love not just you. I'm not just your child, but I need to care about you. You know what I mean? So it's a double thing. They know where I'm coming from. But I told her, I said, you have to get her off because she's overstimulated. She won't stick to one thing. She has these beautiful ideas, beautiful mind, but she's always going to come to you with the next thing because there's no allowance of her to just sit with this one thing that she has to explore to see how good she can be at it, because she keeps jumping because something else keeps popping up. And she overstimulates herself. So the mother says she understood. I don't know if she did it because, I don't live their lives, but, things that people have different processes on how hard things are. But it's, you got to try different things. You really do. And I'm just getting out of that space of finally giving myself grace. I was hella hard on myself. Hella hard. I just said this. Ain't nobody can cuss me out worse than I cuss myself out when things don't get done. And I didn't go into rewarding myself for the small, like, not even small things. There are big things that I've done in my life, but I just 100%. Never gave myself credit because it was like I could do better, or it's not, like, I just never put too much onto it and just felt like it's not what you really saw. Like, it's not the vision I actually saw. It's a part of it. So it was like, you didn't really do anything. I'm just hard on myself, and I had to stop doing that and start giving myself grace. My next question is, and you touched on this, but I just want to make sure that people hear it clearly. What does success mean to you at this stage of your life? Like, you talked about the purpose of you putting out your music. I want to know if you continue to keep going, because I think about Toby Nwigwe, who wanted to do rap. I don't know if you know who he is. You gotta get into Toby. I've been on his street team independently.
What's up?
Toby Nwigwe.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know who he is. Yes. Toby Nwigwe. I've been following him
like
for
the
years.
Man right now. 100%.
Yes. Now, but let me tell you something. I was with him from the beginning. Okay. When him and his wife were doing YouTube and talking about their marriage. Yes. Like, so he said that he was going to do this for 10 years consistently. That's why he used to put out something every single Sunday. drop new music every single Sunday with the visual. And he was like, I'm gonna do this for 10 years because I want to make purpose popping. If God don't hit this off in 10 years, then I'll take a step back and I'll do something else. But I'm gonna do this. And obviously he ain't going backwards. You know what I mean? God has shown out and shown proved, right? So what's the purpose of you putting out your music? What do you want to see? And is there I don't think there's an expiration plan since what you said, but I just want you to kind of touch more on it. What does success mean to you? And
Success to me, I know exactly where I want to be with when it's all said and done. I've been very clear with everybody on this. I want to be married with children. I
mm,
I do music. Yeah, like the whole thing of me doing music and following purpose is, like I said, I want to be married. You know, I want to be married with kids, daughters specifically. Two is fine. I don't need any more than that. Two is where I cap off. I'd be fine with one, but whatever. But I do know from just kind of growing up with my mom and my stepdad that like being happy with yourself is going to be the first step of being able to be in a relationship that works. And so I do music so that when I do find that person and I do start finding that family, I don't have any regrets about my life. I'm not like
mm,
trying to put all of my past dreams on my kids and putting resentment on my wife. Like I don't want any of that. I want to meet her as healthy as can be, as happy as can be, and then that way I can focus on that. I can't act as if that I'll have the same passion to do music once I have kids, stuff like that. I can't say I will, but I know that's what success is for me, being able to take care of them and they don't have to worry about anything and giving them the space to be them, without me trying to put my own personal dreams on them. That's my biggest stamp of success right there.
wow. I didn't I don't know what I don't think I expected anything
Nobody
particular,
ever
but
expects me. No one
that was
ever expects me.
that
Yeah.
was beautiful. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I have a question that's connected to that I wanted to
Yeah.
talk about down the line. Because if people listen to your music, they will be able to tell your passion for love,
Absolutely.
and romance. So I love that. And now I want to transition a little bit into the music a little bit more, right?
Okay.
Listening to your music, obviously you have raw content, you are a storyteller with your lyrics. And the stories, obviously you can tell it's personal. That's why I was able to gather so much information about you besides like, knowing you. I know there's depths to it. Um, what are your inspirations? I want to know who inspires you rapping, singing, songwriting, and producing.
Um, Inspiration wise, like it's writing, I would say started from my uncle and my stepdad. When they were rapping, I felt like um I felt like what they were able to do with words and how people perceive them in real life matched.
Mm,
So like when I heard my uncle's music and like how aggressive and upfront he was, I would see him out with his friends and they would look at him that same way. The same thing with my stepdad. So writing for me was my way to match my reality with my creation. That was like I wanted people to hear my music and then meet me and go, "Oh, that matches." Like because
yeah,
it
okay.
means a lot. You know what I mean?
So you
So
want to be
for
authentic in your music for sure too.
I have to, yeah, it takes a lot of that. And then I guess singing, leaning more towards singing kind of happened because there's an expression in singing that's different in rapping. I always felt like rapping is much more about self, I guess. I don't really know how to create the perfect distinction, but in the simplest form, a rap has always been about let me tell you about me in a way that you can relate. Singing to me always felt more like let me just give you a story and see if that's something you did too. Because I
Mm,
feel like it's a much more open, love is one of those things that kind of in any way, shape, or form people have experienced. I could rap something and you may have never experienced it. So it's really much more about me saying it in a way that ties into something in your life. As opposed to like singing is way more something that even if you didn't go through the exact same situation, you went through something similar, or
mm,
somebody went through something similar. It's a much more open canvas.
okay.
So, especially even just growing up, I grew up on 90s R&B and, they were really big on just kind of letting it. I don't know. I feel like all R&B throughout the years, just singing music in general has always been like the songs that always hit the most of the ones that felt super personal. So, Usher was like, to me, Usher was like it. Like he
Hmm.
was like So when the Confessions album hit, I really believed, you know, him and Chili broke up and
Yeah.
Chili was going on. Like, I was like, damn, Usher was
You
going
can't tell
on.
us that wasn't about Chili. He cheated on her, got somebody else, right?
Like, I really felt that. So like that was like the base. Like, yo, if you're gonna do R&B, you gotta be ready to break up with somebody and talk about it. You ready to cheat and talk about it. So, you know, as I developed my own writing style and like R&B, it was always based in that kind of rapping style of, you know, matching your art with you, but like in the R&B space of like being willing to be vulnerable, because that's great for you to let out, and it's great for people who listen because it's like, yeah, I felt that, I'm interested.
Mm. And what about producing? Because there's a song on. I noticed that on Cool Tape 2.
Yeah.
You really had this like. You played around. I feel like with a lot of. I don't know if you helped produce that or what with that
Right.
project, but there was a lot of. It was just really eclectic. There was you would have one beat and then it would break and then jump into another beat. And I remember one song I was writing and I was like, this has to be Timbaland influence. Like, let me just look it up real quick because I was like, I need to ask him, like, did he tap in? There's no way it wasn't. It's called Situation. It's like towards the end, like it had to be. I don't know if you remember, but it had to be like a Timberland influence on that song. And you had this thing where you did that a lot throughout the album, as well as, you know, you putting your personality and doing skits and things like that. I really, really did like that album. But producing wise, who inspires you?
Yeah. First off, on the Timbaland, that means so much because Timbaland and Pharrell are like my biggest. Like,
Hmm.
to me, those two are like the greatest ever to ever do it. And I guess what I would say Timbaland wise, I was always trying to get a musicality that I felt like he found through hip hop that's like very rare. It's very rare to find a musicality in a space that's supposed to be more vibey and feely. So he does really well with sampling the right things and adding the right sounds, the right moments. And then production wise for Pharrell, I always felt like his beats only work for him. Like I felt like if somebody else took that same beat, it would not be the song it was. So I felt like when you listen to his beats, it's like he made it in a way that he's bringing you into his world. It's like, here I'm the man. Like, this beat works. This is funky here. Like, maybe this person couldn't sing it this way. Maybe they can't sing it this way. But when I do it, it's like this. So I like to try to mirror those feelings in the production. So it's funny you brought the Cool Tape too, because like my little brother was driving around with one of his friends and they were like, yeah, he put me onto this. This is my favorite joint. I'm like, it's crazy of all the projects. That's the one that keeps coming up. And this is not the first time, because I'm like, that was, I don't know, it was a long time ago. And I just, when I hear it, I hear somebody who's trying to prove how talented he really is. Like,
to be honest with you, it felt when listening to that project, and this is nothing to say the rest of the projects are not great either, because there's some things I have questions for with the other ones as well. But listening to that project, it really felt like you said, I'm giving y'all, like at that moment in time, you was like, I'm giving y'all everything I've got. What up? Like, I'm here. This is what I can do. This is the different flows that I can, because your flow switched up a lot on the different tracks as well. So you were like, I'm giving you everything. If I never do this again, y'all gonna know that I killed it. And this is what, like, that's what I felt like. It was like, here, this is all that I can do. This is like, and it's not really all that you can do, but this was like, this palette was so eclectic that I think the rest of the albums that you do, it seems like you kind of took from here and just expanded on it, if that made sense. But that to me, that was like a foundational album of the different ways that you can play and do things vocally, and production wise, and, you know, with your art, in my opinion. So yeah.
No,
So
I completely agree. I would say that every project since then has been a portion of what I started there. 100%.
yeah,
100%.
I
Very deep.
definitely,
Look at that. Look at that.
you know, if you know, I do love music myself. I really do. I want to talk about your process, right? In your music. I feel like you're a perfectionist. That's partly because I know you and I know that you like to make sure things are in order, but you produce really great things as well. But I see that when you have a title, there's a theme that goes with it, right? It seems like I love the play on, I remember when I was like reading and writing stuff, I was like, metaphor. Because if you read it, it's metaphor. Do you think that came to me in the beginning? No, it didn't. Right. And so I just want to know, like, how do you go about putting your projects together? I want to talk to us about your process. Do you start with a theme and then flesh it out from there? Like, what do you do? Because it's intricate when you get into the flow of the songs and the title and the interludes, all that. It's all connected.
Yeah, I think for people out there, there's this narrative that people don't like albums anymore. Like people, there's this narrative, right? That kind of started because streaming and stuff like that. But I've always been somebody who loves albums, and I've always connected with people who love albums. So whenever I try to get to a project, I like to tell a story within that project. So for example, Metaphor, the name I had the Metaphor idea, right? I think I was writing something and it came from a song. I think I was playing on the words. I was like, oh, this should be a fire name for a project. So I'm like, all right, cool. This is the name of the project, but now what? And I think that's where like the intricacy comes from. It's like, all right, this is dope and this could mean something, but what does it mean to me in particular? And then I curate songs around that idea, or I'll pull from something I already had. And I was like, this feels like what I think this makes me feel. So first song on Metaphor was Danger. Danger was the first song I said, this is going to be on Metaphor. Because what actually was supposed to happen is 5Gs Later was supposed to come out, years ago. And then once I kind
Really?
of had, yeah, it was supposed to come out years ago. Like there's like 4 or 5 songs that are on 5Gs Later that I had since like 2018. Like I've had
Wow.
those songs for.
Okay.
So Metaphor was like, you know what? I'm gonna put a mixtape out first or EP out first before I put out this album. And then once I started like curating it, I was like, oh no, this is gonna be more than just a little project before the album.
Got it.
So once Danger was like the where I was at that point, like I felt like I was always in the middle of love. I felt like that's what Danger kind of
Oh wait, I can't hear you.
you hear me
Oh, now I can.
now?
Now I can. I don't know what happened. But go ahead.
Yeah, I always felt like I was in the middle of like being in a relationship with somebody, or I was like in the middle of being the side. Like I was always in the middle. I was never one or the other. So I felt like when I thought about Metaphor, it was like, all right, cool. Well, what's my purpose of meeting all these girls? If I'm not supposed to be in a relationship with any of them, if I'm not supposed to be married to any of them, what's the point of me meeting any of them? So that was kind of the idea of creating that project of like putting different stages of me saying for myself, this is what I think this means. This is why I think I met you. I think I met
Got
you because
it.
I was supposed to learn how to appreciate someone when I have them. Or I was supposed to learn that maybe I'm not ready for a relationship right now. Like these are kind of the ideas that and mentalities I want to break down through a project. So to answer the question, when I'm putting together an album, once I got the title and discover what it means to me, then I kind of build around that idea, even if I already have songs that I already created.
Okay. I want to talk about Lou Alcindor. I know that Lou Alcindor is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's original name.
That's the government name, yes.
And in my head, I was like, okay, maybe he named it this to talk about the original part of something or someone, because it's mostly beat. It's like it's kind of stripped to just the beat of it. But I don't know. And I was like, I have to ask you, why did you name it that? And why was there such an emphasis on beat making and that beat tape? Like, what made you thought of that project and put that out?
So I was working on some projects for Steel, who I'm always with on tour and stuff like that. And then he said in a rap, he was like, no, I think I said whatever. The idea came from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's famous for his hook shot. So at that point in time, I was getting great at putting together the beat and doing hooks. It's like, yo, boom, you Kareem. So I was like, all right, cool. I'll just call myself Lou Alcindor. Like I thought it was no. Sean called me that. Sean is another one of part of my team. He was like, yo, Lou Alcindor. I was like, who the hell is Lou Alcindor? And I was like, oh, Kareem, duh. So I was like, that was a nickname that I went with. And then I wanted to put out a beat tape. I just felt like, people do beat tapes all the time. I kind of wanted to jump in that space. Once again, me trying something new and being like, yo, I can do this too. And so putting out the beat tape was more about like me expressing myself that way, but understanding the next time I do something like that, I wanted to address it differently. I felt like it just helped me get that idea out.
Get
I
that
really
out.
feel that it
Yeah. I was gonna
yeah,
ask you plan to do maybe a part two of it
yeah,
or
definitely more music, definitely have other artists on there. The idea is that once I'm on the hook, we've got a song. So that's kind of the idea.
okay.
So
Okay.
having different artists. Yeah.
Thank you for answering that for me. What would you say is your favorite project or maybe favorite song that you may have that you've done?
I always feel like as artists, our favorites are always the last one we did.
Mhm.
I would say the cool tapes in general have a special place for me. I always feel like when I go back and listen to them, like just like you pointed out, like I hear somebody who's just like I'm so hungry and be like, yo, I can do this. Like I swear I'm talented because I remember at that time feeling like I was tired of people telling me how talented I was. I felt
Mm,
like they were hearing it, but it was like, oh, but this song isn't really that good. It was like, but they could tell I could rap. You knew I could rap. You knew I could sing. You knew I could produce, but I wasn't able to put it together in a concise way that people could receive it. And I just remember like making those projects and being like, no, I can do it. Like, look at all the stuff I can do. So I have a special place in my heart for those. I think Anomaly was the project that I look back on where it's like I would have done that differently, but I'm happy I did it because it opened the door for a certain level of vulnerability.
mm,
Um, Metaphor and 5Gs kind of go hand in hand with me. I feel like that sonically, those are my two best projects where it's like I understood how to make things sound better. Like just sonically, everything is mixed better. The production got better. It was more concise, but the cool tapes have a special place in my heart. And I've been in my mind trying to revisit how to do a three. I
mm.
gotta. That's a big task. I
Yeah,
know I'll put
let it happen. Just let it be authentic, because
it.
I'm not gonna hold you. It's a great project. I noticed though also you went from rapping more in Anomaly and I feel like in Cool Tape, and now it's transitioned a lot more into R&B. Is there a reason for that?
Um, yeah, it's not even that difficult. What happened was I went on tour to Taiwan, and right before I went on tour, I did a Tory Lanez cover, and then right when I right when I did that, the whole following just kind of jumped as I went on tour, so everyone kind of just saw me as an R&B person. So I was gonna be like, all right, cool, I'll do a quick little R&B joint, and then it was like, nah, you sing now. I was like,
Mm,
oh, okay, I guess. So it's not like I'll never rap again, but it was just kind of yeah. As soon as my Instagram following started going that way, I was like, all right, cool. Let me just kind of lean towards
okay.
that.
But it's you will grace
Yeah,
us again with some
absolutely.
bars, because I do love to hear the different flows that I love that. One of my favorites is Kendrick Lamar. Like we know Los. Los also does really great. He's great with music as well and does these playlists called Live Love Los. I always mess them
Yes,
up.
yes.
But I believe it's Live Love Los, and check them out on Spotify and Apple as well. There's some really great playlists. If you have a party that you're trying to get to, if you're not playing Kool Kidd Dre, you should. And I think actually Kool Kidd Dre is
I'm
on
on.
some.
I'm on a few. I'm on a few.
Yeah, he's on a few of the playlists as well. If you just need a vibe, you don't want to think you don't have a DJ, definitely play these playlists. They're
Right.
super dope and get your party started for sure. But even like Los knows that my favorite is K Dot, but I love it because of his cadences. I love the flow, the different things that he can do, and I do enjoy that when I went back and did research and listen to your stuff. I love that, and I love the vulnerability in your bars and stuff like that as well. Um, I need to know this too. This is just me wanting to know
Right.
art, and if there's anything like I said, I pay attention to all of it. On your 5Gs later project, you have Anna, Helen, Rose, Serenity, and Eve. Who are these people? I pay attention. I pay attention.
Yeah.
Are they
Um,
ladies? Or did you really put your exes like on these tapes
no,
or?
I didn't actually put their names, but the 5Gs later are five girlfriends later, and the idea is that each of them represent that name in particular. So Eve, obviously the beginning, the first girl. Helen being the fire. Who else do I have on there? I have
Serenity.
Rose, and Serenity. So Serenity is my piece. So she's somebody who kind of came along and just was like, it's like the sweetest person I ever met, and just always make me feel comfortable. And like I never felt like I had to be something. Rose was really delicate. She was like just like I never felt like I didn't want to be too much ever around her. I was always scared that like I was gonna break her. And then
Oh,
yeah, which I knew
Anna.
Anna. Anna Anna was just a flip on this girl's name. There's a flip on her name.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a flip on her name. But I didn't want to use their real names because like over the years, like you obviously heard me before, I use names and stuff like that. And like people take things weird. Like people a lot of times people will put their own, and I'm talking particularly for the girls I'm talking about, I'm like they'll
Mhm.
put their own like spin on what I'm trying to say, and I just feel like I don't like that. Like on my music, like I'm very clear on what I'm saying. It's the only place where I feel like I don't really care how anybody else feels. I say what I said, and
Yeah.
I didn't mince words or anything. This is exactly how I felt. So which reflects, because in real life I feel like I struggle with that like horribly. I feel like
Mhm.
I'm always like going back and saying, "Oh, you took it like that? No, this is what I was trying to say." And I feel like I'm always doing that. So to prevent any of them coming back and being like, "Oh, is this about me? This is about me. This is this," and I'm like, "Listen, just if you did hear it, which some of them heard it, some of them heard it, some haven't, but if you did hear it, you know, you can kind of inference what you want on it. I'm not gonna put your name in it to where now I got to worry about what you think."
Got it.
So
Got it. I had to know. I was like looking at the imagery, like, I don't believe you do anything for no reason. Like there's very intricate. You're very specific. So I was like, I'm gonna ask.
you're like one of few to pick up on that. Very one of few. One of
I
few.
be paying attention. This I does this. I told you. I didn't get to be on a national syndicated. I'm speaking it
No,
right. Syndicated show, and one of the
right.
greatest interviewers out here for
Yeah,
no
yeah, yeah.
reason. You heard?
Not at all.
All right. So you touched on this, but I have like only a few more questions.
Yeah.
Touched on this, and I noticed that your music at times, you talk about love, and now that I know what the end is for you, like what success means to you, right? I remember on Metaphor, you have a song that you said that. Forget how, right? Where you say, I don't want to lose faith before you find me. And then on 5G's later, there's a song, I think it's like number 2, where you're talking about no faith. So, right? So,
Yeah.
where are you in your love life? Are you single? Why do you think you are? And what are you looking for? So there's like there's a couple of things in
Yeah.
there, but like, what are you looking for? And if you're single, why do you think you're single?
Dating. I'm seriously dating somebody.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes. You know, we're kind of on the same page with that. But I think you know, it's somebody who recently got a relationship not too long ago, and now it's just kind of trying to find it. I think the reason why I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of women who, like, let's put it like this: my dating life has been very fortunate. Like, I have never dated anyone seriously who's like ever cheated on me or like made me feel like I wasn't appreciated, or and if they did, I never found out. Like, I always felt the utmost respect. So I think what has kept me from like latching on to somebody is just me kind of finding myself. You know, I don't think it's been, yeah, they haven't done anything wrong. Like any girl I had seriously dated, any one of them could have been the one. You know, I just think it's timing. You know, I think timing is my biggest thing. So, you know, now I'm in a much more I do things that I didn't do before. You know, I cook a little bit more for, you know what I'm saying? You know, I'm open about how I feel about certain things, and you know, I'm more confident in my own personal journey. So there's a few things that have maybe over time that maybe if I felt that back then, maybe it would have worked out. But you know, I'm in a good space now, and you know, we'll see what this new, you know, dating situation turns into, and you know, if
Do you think
it's
there's a fear of, like, I know we
yeah,
want it. Okay, there was. All right.
it definitely was. There was like even early on, there was literally a time, I think we were working together at the time. I told you I broke up with this girl just because I don't know, we were there. I felt like there was nothing. I felt like we had been dating maybe up to that point, maybe about 2 years, year and a half up to that point. And I strictly broke up with her just because I felt like the only thing after this is marriage. And I don't want to get married right now. She didn't do anything wrong. Everything was great. I just felt like, well, shit, you know, I don't know if I, you know, I don't know.
Mhm.
So, you know, going from that always to now where it's like, you know, I'm open to what the experience is, and I'm much more comfortable in my own path, things like that. Like it's a journey, man.
I
It's always
wanna
a
I
journey.
wanna ask you a question as a, this is off the, because
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
know I'm a woman who also I went through a lot, and I think you used to hear some of my crazy things I
Of
used to go
course.
through when it comes to guys, but there's a level where I had to really understand myself and know, like, you're a love head. You want a relationship. You cannot be
Yeah.
out here thinking that it's going to be, oh, I'm just going to be chilling with. No, I'm not doing none of that. I finally
Yeah.
decided to do it God's way. So I am celibate. I am out here waiting for, the right person. So if you listening and God was like, oh, I think that's
Yeah.
my, I think that's my wife. What's up? Like, holla,
Shoot that shot. Shoot that shot.
slide into my DMs. But seriously, do you think that it is when you are, I know at one point for me personally, and I know other women who went through this where they didn't date because their hearts were still attached to someone else, or they knew they may not be ready. And they knew what they had. Like for me personally, this is not like I knew what I could give. Even if I didn't have all of the self-love stuff together, I grew up seeing, so I knew what I can give to someone. I knew how to love. I knew how to do those different things to make you feel like, yo, I've had guys to tell me like, I don't want to hurt you because you're absolutely amazing. And I know I'm not ready. You know what I mean? I've had a lot of situations along those lines too. So I didn't even want to deal with somebody maybe possibly falling for me or anything like that. Do you think it's fair to continue to date when there's a level of like, you're not ready?
Um, so as someone who has been in that seat before and has felt that way, I think you just don't know. You don't know you feel like that until you feel it. You know,
Mm.
you think you'll meet somebody and be like, all right, she cool. And then you meet her, and it's like, oh, it's just an oh moment. It's like, oh, I wasn't expecting to feel like that. So I think as a dude, when you're in that space, I think we see it as way more admirable than it really is. Like we think we're being like, I'm doing this for her. That's what we think we're doing. You know, it isn't until we leave later and
I
then it's like,
try to
oh,
tell my male friends this all the time. Like some of y'all actually like I feel like you are such a mannerable person. Like I know you probably have a side to you, whatever, but
yeah,
you've always been a mannerable, respectful man, like always, from what I was able to see. And I remember, yeah, I just remember that. I just remember that. Because you know who I thought about just now. I'm not gonna say anything. But
make it very clear. Make it very clear. You know what I'm saying? She see me in my simpiest of simp moments. You know what I'm saying?
no,
Like,
I
oh
mean,
no.
I don't even like that. I don't even like that. I think that it's, there was a level of, I know what I want. You feel me? And I see beauty. I respect it. I want that. I'm gonna like, you were just respectful. I don't even like that whole, like my kids put me onto this whole simping stuff. And I was hella confused and I felt old when I talked, but I don't even really care for any of that. Like you were just a respectful guy. You liked something, you talked about it, you wanted it, like it is what it is. And you didn't, yeah, it was like, what's up? So and I know because listening to your music, there I know that there wasn't all that I knew, but I knew there was other sides where like you could be like, yo, chill out. You know what I mean? So like I feel like if somebody did get that side of you, it was kind of like, cause like I want what I like. You feel me? But don't get it twisted. There's another side, but you was just such a mannerable person. And I think that goes on how you were raised, that you didn't have to let people see that unless it was really, maybe pulled out or whatever. So I respect that. I don't think it was, like simping or anything like that. She didn't deserve you at that time anyway. So and I love her. You know who she is. That she's listening. But nonetheless, I tell some of my male guys this all the time because I'm fortunate enough to have males in my life who are such good guys. There's some.
No comment.
But a lot of them have beautiful hearts, and I think that men are relationship heads just like girls are.
100%.
And I know sometimes that they know they're not ready, but they still want companionship. And because a lot of them are handsome, they'll get out there and just be like, Key, but she
threw it at me,
she
son.
looked good and she did. And I'm like, yes, but you are not the type to just be able to, because you're so nice that the girl is going to fall for you. They're going to fall for you, and you're just going to leave a trail of broken hearts until you meet that person. And I think a part of this journey is also self-discipline to say, like, now it's a difference if you let a girl know, like, I genuinely don't feel like, and still these things happen where you let her know, I'm genuinely not ready. She still sees that you're an amazing guy. She still wants to talk to you. She still falls for you. And sometimes there's that balance where it's like, yo, at least you tried to be extremely honest and upfront, but it doesn't always work out.
Nah, that's that's second level, right? So as the evolution of a man becomes your first level of being like, oh, cool, I'm being honest, I'm relieving myself of responsibility. Then the second part of that growth is I know I'm gonna say it, I'm gonna be more upfront, honest what I'm trying to do. We'll see. That's second level. Third level is
It's
me
doing what
understanding.
you say.
The only doing saying is understanding it doesn't matter what I say. That's the third level. Is understanding just like you said, if I'm an attractive dude and I got my stuff together and I come at you a certain way and I can't hide who I am. I can't hide my traits that
But I
so
think
if
there's a level of holding, like, so for like women, and I could be wrong, guys and ladies, you know what I mean? I could be wrong, but I don't think so. But like, if I say I'm not going to do something and I do it, there's this level of which you're paying attention to see, like, it's either she don't really love herself that much, or like she can't stick to her word to an extent, right? And with a guy, if you say that you're not ready, but then you do all the things relationship wise, usually y'all do have a lot of power in the sense, like, if y'all don't want this relationship, it's not going to go further than the plain house. The girl wants to be labeled. She wants to, like, let's cut the crap. The girl wants to be labeled. She wants a relationship. She wants the commitment to that way. And some guys are like, well, I am committed to you. I don't do anything outside, but but y'all know what it is. Y'all don't want that. Y'all not, it's either you don't see everything in her or you're just really not ready. But there's a level to get to, in my opinion, where men say, I don't want this relationship. I'm not ready for a relationship. I don't mind chilling. If the girl says, like, if you see that the girl is not falling in line and she's falling, it's also your duty as just a human, right? Girls too, as a human, to say, oh, I got to take a step away, no matter how good this may make me feel in the moment. I got to step away from this because I got to stay true to me and I don't want to leave a trail of hearts. I think that's really the top evolution, where we sacrifice our wants, right? And we decide to, because I think we're all connected to helping and guiding other people. But if we really looked at it in a way of, like, I'm going to sacrifice this want because I don't want to hurt this person and walk away, it's either they respect that or not. And a girl who chases after and says, like, no, it's okay, like, I promise you, because I've been that. I promise you, we don't know. There's the self-worth is not there all the way, because you don't chase after a guy who don't want you in that way. You are a prize. Both, yes, I'm saying there's a level of that. So I think that there's a point where it's like, I got to step away and I got to be confident in my solidarity until I am ready, because you guys are good guys and you guys are out here probably leaving. I don't know if you are in particular, because I just know a lot of good guys that are leaving a trail of broken hearts unintentionally, but it still makes you feel, it still makes you look like, bruh. Because I'm on the other side. I have these clear cut conversations with my people. And y'all, some of y'all know who y'all are. I have clear cut conversations with y'all. And it's like, come on, because I used to be the girl on the other end too, who's like, no, but you're such a good guy. Are you sure? And it's like, no, we can make this work. We're such a good team. And like, and then I'm like broken, and y'all like, I don't like to see my sis broken hearted. But I was the girl that you keep. I was. I was that. Now, if you tell me, oh, I don't want to, I'm out, because my self-worth has gone up exponentially. There's girls who out here who have it together, who appear to have it together, who look strong and everything, but they want love, and there's still levels in which they don't know that they, yeah.
As a dude, I agree with mostly everything you said. Actually, I agree with everything you said. I agree with everything you said. Only thing is, for the men who are listening and trying to figure out your space, stepping back, you just got to understand why you're stepping back. There's a difference between stepping back because this is getting clingy and you like, oh, I don't want that.
Yeah.
Realistically, are you stepping back because you're not feeling her that way, or you don't see it, or are you stepping back because you scared? Because if you're scared, that may be a conversation you can have with her, and that may be something you can work
Yes.
out. As
Yes.
somebody who has lost someone, because I felt like I was scared, and I feel looking back at it, it was like, had I just said I was scared, or had I just said I was nervous, it could have went
Mm-hmm.
differently, and I
Yeah.
can learn from that. So you got to know yourself, know why you're
Very
stepping back.
true. Very true. And I think there are some women who are definitely open to nurturing that.
Yeah,
And again, that touches on the beauty of healing that we talked about earlier. And I think my goal is to get young men and young women to understand all of us need healing. Every single one of us, no matter the color, the creed. First of all, some of certain colors and creeds are it's not they're naturally getting it. It's really our people who are not. And
yeah,
we need to really stop and understand, like, we need it, whether your
100%.
situation looks like it. I don't care what the loss is. Some of y'all have just lost dogs. Like, you may have had a dog in your life, and that dog was your everything, your best friend in the household, because you wasn't getting certain emotional attention, and that can be a trauma. And I know some people like, oh, we parents are always like, oh, we've been through worse. Y'all been through worse. Y'all situation
Right.
was different. These kids, it's not. So you gotta, it's levels to it, and there's
My
strength
parents.
that can be built. We just have, but we all need healing, and there's ways to do it, and it needs to be done. And I think we should get it done early on. So we should start having these conversations, so that I think it will help men and women's relationship get a lot better too.
100%.
Um, so thank you for having that
I'm
side
down.
bar
I'm
with
always down.
me. I have like three more questions for you. I want to talk about Beats and Sip. How did that come about? I know you talked about it, you thought about it in
Beats.
promotion wise, but let's go a little bit into that, because I think this is a great idea.
Okay.
And I'm a little mad that you keep putting it on a Wednesday. I have Bible studies on Wednesday, and I need you to put it like on a Saturday or something.
I'm gonna get in
Saturday
the
night.
city. Once we get to the city, once I get to the city, we're gonna do Friday or Saturday. I definitely got that. I'm gonna do the Valentine's Day. We're gonna set it up. But so here's the thing about Beats and Sip, which I just kind of like recently. So I knew at some point I was gonna have to like answer questions about where I got the idea from. So I started just thinking about it, and I never really thought about how my Paint and Sip experience inspired Beat and Sip. Everybody who's probably listening to it is like, Davies, but like
Hmm.
I did Paint and Sip back in 2018. I want to say 2018. So I do Beat and Sip. I was going to. It was right before I went to Poland for the first time.
Hmm.
I went with Scarlett, and she took me through. And my boy Darren was directing the Paint and Sip. So I can't
Do
paint for
people
shit.
know who Scarlett is?
So I mean, if they follow me, they know who she is.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
They don't
I didn't
follow
know
me.
if you wanted to introduce whoever my side of audience is listening to, if they should follow
Yeah, yeah.
Scarlett, or I don't know.
No, Scarlett, Scarlett is somebody I grew up with. We had a show together, full disclosure. She's like my
Hmm.
homie. We grew up together, and she just, always around. So she took me to my first Paint and Sip.
Okay.
And Darren, who is like a family friend, he was directing it. So I can't paint for shit. So I was literally just going into it like, I'm gonna leave drunk and have a good time. Like whatever.
Hmm.
So he gets up there and he starts like painting. He's like, do this, do this, do this. And I'm like, after like the third stroke, I'm like, oh, I'm actually getting something here. Like I'm actually doing this. So I finish it, and like I didn't realize how I've always wanted to paint and draw and stuff like that. So like after that experience, I'm like, oh my God, like this was like a big moment in my life to have a painting that I could be like, I did this. Like I didn't realize how important that was for me. It was like a life goal. Like it was so
Mm.
big. So I did it maybe one other time after that, and then I never did it again. So fast forward to last year. It's last. Was it last year? It was before quarantine. It was right before quarantine. So this is like 2019. So 2019, I'm like thinking of thinking of new ways to kind of promote music and stuff like that. And I think I just saw somebody post something about a paint and sip. I was like, oh, beat and sip would be dope. But when I just kind of sat on the idea for a while because I didn't really know what it was going to be. So as I kept thinking about it and telling people about it, the idea grew and grew and grew. And the reason why I bring up the paint and sip idea was because as I started curating the experience, it was based on I remember how I felt having this lifelong mission finally accomplished at a paint and sip.
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, I want the same experience for somebody who loves music, but maybe they were never good at playing instruments, so they can never sing or they can never rap. How many people personally like, I love
Yeah.
music, but you feel me? I can't sing, I
If
can't
I
rap,
could
I can't
sing, I
if
would
I
be
can
out
sing,
here.
all the time. So I'm like,
Hmm.
that was the idea. That was the person I had in mind when I was creating this experience. So I'm like, you know what? Let me figure out a way to make Beats and Sips something that when someone leaves, not only do they get to leave with this song that they created, but I want them to be able to show people and be happy about it. And the next step of that would be like being able to do it in front of other people. Like imagine if I did the paint and sip and not only did Scarlett think it was dope, but I was painting in front of the whole class and I went from never ever painting anything to becoming Van Gogh in front of a room full of people and everyone's like, oh
Mm.
wow, ooh. So that was the idea of which I built Beats and Sip. And then it took a lot of trying things out, like me personally, be like, oh, that's not gonna work, that's not gonna work, that's not gonna work, this gonna work. And then bringing the idea to some friends and family. And then I I'll be 100% honest. I sat on this idea for about a year, and then I was talking to this girl, and she didn't know me from anything. Like I ain't even hit yet. And I told her about the idea, and she thought it was dope. I was like, you don't even know me from nowhere. So if you think this is dope, maybe I'm slacking.
Hmm.
So I went to this place in Mount Vernon called Clinton's. This is like this newer spot. And I went inside, and one of the people I'm cool with, Derek, does karaoke there.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, I could do Beats and Sip here. So I was like, Derek, what's the situation like here? He's like, oh, boom, just talk to Clinton. And I was speaking to Clinton. Clinton actually knew my dad. They were all cool. So I was like, yo, I want to
Nice.
do it one night here. And, I tried it out and it was like the smartest thing I had ever done musically. Like, as far as like, as far as being able to take something that never existed, like, it was like I created something, like this
Yeah,
was not something
I
that ever been
think
done.
it's going to. I really want you to do everything that needs to be done because I know it's going to hit off. Just like everybody has their version of paint and sip. I don't know if anybody. I don't know how they're going to do beat and sip, but I think even if they try to mimic it, it won't matter because they won't be able to do it like you. This is something I'm really understanding too. No matter how many podcasts, no matter how many whatever is out there, you are
Yeah.
you, and you're going to do it because you have the gift, right? I'm really excited. When I started, I was like, oh, this is hella dope. And I've always wanted to low key produce. I have, for people, I
Yeah.
always tell people I will one day put out an EP. God willing, will give me the space and time to not have to worry about any other thing. Money will be flowing, everything will be great. And I can just saturate myself in music. And,
Yes.
and I've always wanted to dabble in like producing. I love like Solange and like
Yes.
I'm a huge fan of
I know
Solange.
you
So
love some lawns. I know you love it.
and I love the aspect of her songwriting, the elusiveness to it, and the weight, how eclectic she is with her beat making, and actually the people that she, Raphael Sadiq, the people that she kind of is
Yeah.
around, and
It's like modern day jazz. It's so
yes, and
cool.
I'm a jazz type of soul, type of gal. So
Mhm.
I saw it and was like, oh, I really want to do this, but I was like, oh, I host a Bible study, so I was like, I cannot do this on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
But you listen, I'm gonna figure it out because I told myself like I'm gonna hit everybody up on the 5th, like before the 15th, like, are y'all coming or not? Like, because sometimes
Yeah,
people don't
yeah,
be
yeah.
coming. Like, y'all coming or not? Because I need to head out. I think you have a really good thing. Um, Going, and I just want to give you your flowers, your props for what you've been doing over the years. Like I said, I've seen you been consistent, um and I'm really proud of you. I If I'm being honest with you, I think that there's so much more to come,
Thank you.
and I'm really excited. I don't know if more people are about to come on your team or what's going to happen, but I had so much joy doing my research for this interview. And I was like, oh, Dre is like, yeah, and I think I've said things like this before when we were younger, but it's like, yeah, I think I want you to just continue to um, continue to tap in. I'm always going to say tap in with God, but I know that something bigger than what your expectations are um is coming, because you have a beautiful gift and all encompassing with what you do when it comes to music. And we know music is healing. If we want to talk about David, and like, seriously, music really is healing. David was called to heal the evil spirit in Saul, you know what I mean? So we know that music is healing for sure, and you have something. So I want you to just stay tapped in. I want to kind of bring it back and just I want you to give people three tools, like I call them tools to get through, right? On the show that will help the audience with consistency, things that you feel like has really guided you along this way, just to kind of, like bring it all back.
Okay. Number one, do not judge your consistency on things you don't like.
Mm,
So I'm very big on it's very hard to judge, someone how well they do something, how well they can be consistent in something if they're doing things they don't like.
mm,
So I'm very big on don't judge that. Don't use that as your measuring stick. Two, find people who are just as motivated as you or even more so. I think I could, even where I'm at right now, musically, in my career and things like that, I would never be where I'm at if I didn't have people around me who were forcing me to think bigger than myself. One of
mm,
my biggest things was I didn't think big enough, and I
mm.
would have never known that if I didn't have people around me who thought bigger. So find people around you who are willing to think big and take that energy that they're willing to give. Lastly, I would say, I don't want to say believe in yourself because I feel like everyone kind of says that, but like,
That's the
you
place
know what
to
I'm saying? I feel like
go.
when you're by yourself and like things are going wrong, and like those are the moments where it's like, you got this. Like those are the moments where like if you're like, I'm a heavy sports fan. Like there's those moments when it's down and I'm like, man, Steph missed the finals last year, and Kobe missed his first like big three, and even in the WNBA, I'm a big WNBA fan. Like Candace Parker, like came into the
Hmm.
big WNBA fan. Candace Parker came into the league with the Los Angeles Sparks, and she had all this prestige around her, and then she went years without winning a ring, and then she comes back home to Chicago and gets one. So like, whatever your motivation is, like whatever you're pointing to, remember those in those moments where it's not looking good. Like those are the moments, not when everything's looking great, because it's easy to look at stuff and go, oh, everything's going great. I feel like Steph. Like, no, do you feel like Steph when he missed those shots? Do you feel like Candace when she was years without a chip? Like, find those inspirations and draw on them and your lowest. And then, yeah, for you, Jonas, I want to let you know, man. Now that I got you, man. I'm proud of you, man. Like I've
Yeah.
always like you have always, and I think one of the other reasons I've been like always drawn to you over the years, like you're like another strong woman in my life. And like when I think of strong women, I'm always like, I want to be around them. Like I'm so enamored by them. And like from the minute I met you at the job, I'm like, Yonda's she, you know what I'm saying? Her aura like big. And I'm like, I always wanted
Thank
to be around
you.
her. I'm always so happy to see you like prosper in the things you're doing. Like every year for your birthday, like you're the first person I ever saw do the giveaway birthday thing. I don't care what anybody else says. You were the very first. I saw Facebook doing it like 2 years after the fact. And I was like, yo, they got her whole joint. Like, how did you do that? But like, you were the very first
It's
person
all
I
right.
saw.
It's coming. It's
Yeah.
coming.
You know what I'm saying? But you were doing it like unapologetically, like this is what I'm doing, this is my calling, like I'm on it. Whoever's on it with me, by all means, whoever's not, I'll catch you on the next way around. Like I just always appreciated that like this energy and aura you have. And like lastly, I'll say your job is to not heal the world. You are not here just because you are a healing soul. That is not your purpose in life. Do not be out here trying to fix all these broken souls. That's
I'm
not your
not. I laid it down. I really.
let it go. You are here to heal those who are open to being healed. That is
Yes.
it.
I am
That
not
is
a
it.
Captain Saver, everybody, and a guy.
No.
Like I am. I understand the yin and the yang. Like I really don't do anything like unless Papa. I be like, I tap in. I don't care who think I'm crazy, who think what. I be like, Father, should I do this? Should
Yeah.
I? I'm just gonna pray for them, God, and I ask that you do the rest because I can't pour in like I used to. You know what I mean? Like I'm on a way better balance. I used to try to do too much. Not try. I was doing too much. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, this is the very last question before you let the people know how they can find you. I always ask this question to every guest. How do you want to be remembered? You touched on it, but I just want to. How do you want to be remembered in this life?
Um, I want to be remembered as somebody who saw something out of nothing. I want to be remembered as somebody who literally just
Hmm.
I want to be somebody who other people look at as he just saw it and he did it in its simplest form. I don't want it to be complex. I don't want people talking about how smart I was or how driven I was. I don't want anybody using those adjectives to describe me. I want to be someone normal. I want people to look at me and be like, he literally just a kid from Mount Vernon, and I wasn't, I would never had the highest grades, or like even musically, if you think I'm talented, like there's millions of people who play real instruments, and like I want to be looked at as somebody who was a normal person, saw something and made it happen, and anybody can do it. The world is set up for anybody to win. That's what I want.
Oh, that's such a that is such. I'm gonna insert clapping hands right here. That was perfect, perfectly said. That is like the foundation of this show. If I've never really iterated it before, it is literally the understanding, like, I don't want to wait until someone is huge, right? The people that I'm talking to, all of our experiences, no matter where you are at in life, are a reflection of what I consider the blueprint of this world, which is the Bible, right? And we're characters that are still out here, it's still being written. And these experiences need to be told because there's somebody out there. Like I always say, if there's only one person listening to the show, there's somebody who needs to hear Dre's experience and say, wow, okay, I can do this. You know what I mean? To be inspired. His calling, his obedience is, like I always say, is connected to someone else's blessing. We are all connected. So what you just said, I think to me was just so perfect. I am a regular person and who took something and like took nothing and created it. And anybody else can do the same. Anybody else can do the same. Hey man, I love that. All right. Tell the people what's coming up next. I'm assuming that another album is probably coming soon, even though I know you got your hands tied with Beats and Sip. But tell them where they can find you, tell them what's going on and what they can expect next.
So yeah, Beats and Sip, December 15th. That'll be R&B night, 90s R&B night 2. Yes. I'm definitely doing the Valentine's Day Beats and Sip. So more details come of that. 9 times out of 10, going to be in the city. I'm looking for like a loft place to do. I want to be real elegant, really. I want it to be something that you want to bring your girl or your man to and be romantic. You can do that. But if you're also somebody who's like, listen, I just want to go out with my girls and have a thing and pull up and meet some new dudes there, or vice versa. Like I want it to be that kind of environment. So you feel me? You feel me? So like, you know what I'm saying? It's for everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely that's coming on next. I'm getting into the NFT space, so I do
Mhm.
plan on dropping NFTs around the Beats and Sip events. I was just talking to my team about that. It's a small team of us, but everyone's really excited to get into that. So NFTs to come. Um, Also, as far as music goes, I'm definitely going to be dropping projects. I just have to figure out. I want everything with Beats and Sip to be intertwined. Like I want it
Yeah.
to be, I want it all to play off of each other. So I definitely still have music. I do plan on dropping the breakup tape too. So I do plan on doing that one. I just haven't figured out which perspective I want to tell. I figured I might continue off the last story where it's like, oh, we broke up, and the two is I've been thinking about this, and maybe we should try this again. Like I don't know,
Mhm.
might do regular corny stuff like
Let it come from
that.
the heart. It'll come. It'll come. You'll figure it out.
All for the toxic behavior, but definitely have that coming, and then yeah, just the beats and sip of the music is really my next big things. NFT space I'm really getting into. Also, I'm a big, like I keep saying, I'm big in the WNBA space. I will be at these WNBA games next season. I'm gonna try to figure out a way to be some type of influencer for the league. I want in. Like
Love
I'm
that.
in.
Speak it. This is
I'm
the place to speak it.
Yeah, I'm speaking it. I'm big on obviously women, finding their space in all venues. And whenever I'm working with music with women, they're always like their big stories. Yeah, I used to be in the studio and this dude was always trying to talk to me, and it creates such an uncomfortable space. So I'm really big on like in music, like you come around, sis, you good. Like this, I appreciate your talent. I appreciate what you bring to the table. So same thing with the WNBA thing. I'm really big on like trying to do my part and bring up that platform because I'm like, I love sports. I love the NBA. I want to see women be able to get paid the same way that their NBA counterparts because it's the
Yeah.
same thing, and I think it's just as marketable. So anything I can do to help in that space, even in the NFT space. This morning I was literally on Twitter, and then Twitter guys, this Twitter space is kind of like Clubhouse. I had no idea this thing existed, but it's like a room. Yeah, it's
No,
like a
I don't
room where
know.
I'll put you on. And it's a room full of like women NFT creators, and they're talking about what they're going. I'm like, yo, this is the space I want to be in. I want to be in the space where the women are pushing each other up and helping. And like I'm so
Mm.
big on it. Didn't realize how big I was on things like that until I got older. So that's what's really big on. The big step for me is really infusing all of that together by next summer, which I definitely think can happen. I have no doubt
I've
in my
seen what
mind.
you've done so far. I'm pretty sure that it will
Yeah,
get done. You have access to a studio, right?
100% got a studio
So
membership.
if people, yes, so if people, he said something very powerful. Woman, if you feel like there's been an uncomfortability, I can guarantee you, Dre is not out here. There's nothing that's gonna happen. He's gonna hold it down. So hit him up. Tell them where they can hit you up on your. Tell them please follow Beats and Sip on
Beats and Sip.
Instagram to figure out what's happening next. I'm telling you, you do not want to miss what's happening. I know it's gonna be big. Y'all gonna be mad. Okay, so follow Beats and Sip on Instagram. Also tell them how they can follow you on Instagram as well.
You can find me on Instagram, Dre the Coolest with a K. That's how you can find me on Instagram and Twitter. The studio page is Mock Studios Neuro. If you can't find that, you just find me on a regular page and we'll tap in, and yeah, I want to be that safe creative space for all creators.
Amen. I love that. So again, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. I want to thank everyone else for joining me on this experience. Please, please, please don't forget to reach out to Dre. I know my goal is to promote a business each week. And he is the business, he is the brand, but I really genuinely feel like you don't want to miss the vibe of going to Beats and Sip December 15th. So make sure you get your tickets, follow it on Instagram and get your tickets now because they will sell out. I'll tell you that. Okay. I pray everyone was able to take away something from this. Please share with others if you feel that whoever else may need it. Don't forget to go to kheartfelt.com. I always attach a blog to the episode, and there's more information. I'm going to put his tools that he mentioned to get through on the episode. I'm going to put links up, and there's a message in the story, so I want you guys to tap into the website as well. Y'all also do know that I do have a few episodes from season 1 of the Youth Talk podcast. I'm still getting season 2 together. I actually may have found an outlet in how to do it. So I'm still in prayer about it, but go ahead and listen to the first couple of episodes of the Youth Talk podcast. It's also on my website as well as Spotify, Apple, and Music. I will be dropping the rest of the episodes on there as well. And yeah, so like I said, don't play yourself. Go check out his music, right? And I'm hoping to see you guys at the next Paint and Sip. I really am going to try to make it. Until the next experience, please remember to live, love, learn, and lift each other up, for it's the only way to be light in the midst of so much darkness. Okay? Bye.